We'll do now the Mamer of Lebאer, Inyan Hamasos Bamidbar. That's the third Mamer in Parshas Masei in the Likutei Torah. Lebאer, Inyan Hamasos Bamidbar, to explain the idea, what is these journeys, what was meant with the journeys in the Midbar. The Rebbe explains that we needed to change from the Midbar. The Midbar is a place where there is the Yanika, where there is the nurturing of the Chitzonim. And in order to change that and make it into a place of Kedusha, because eventually we have to turn the world around to make it in a world of holiness, the whole world will become like Eretz Yisrael, as is going to bring out. So therefore, it started off by the Yidden going through the desert and subduing the Chitzonim that are in the desert. Hine Amr Azal, our sages of blessed memory tell us that Asida Eretz Yisrael shetispashet al ha'olam kulay, that eventually Eretz Yisrael will expand into the whole world. So what is meant with that? In the future, over there, the whole world will then be on the level, on the step of now Eretz Yisrael. So Eretz Yisrael right now has a special level, as we'll see. It's Makabel from the level of Yitzira, but in the future, all the world will get from the level of Yitzira, not through Asiyah, as he's going to explain. That the whole world will be then at the same step and the level of Eretz Yisrael now. And what's going to be Eretz Yisrael? But Eretz Yisrael is also good. The whole world is going to become like Eretz Yisrael. And Eretz Yisrael will be on the level of what is Yerushalayim now. So Eretz Yisrael the world will become like Eretz Yisrael, and Eretz Yisrael will become like Yerushalayim. And this is what they say. The Chacham say that Yerushalayim tispashet al kol Eretz Yisrael kulay. That means that it's going to expand. It means that all of Eretz Yisrael is going to be the holiness of Yerushalayim, like Yerushalayim is now. So then it's going to expand. All of Eretz Yisrael is going to become a level of Yerushalayim. So it turns out that Yerushalayim the La'asid. So what about Yerushalayim the La'asid? It will be even in a higher level. Ki La'asid love yiyu aliyas ha'olamas. The future, it'll be the elevation, all the worlds, everything will go up. The world will go up, Eretz Yisrael will go up, and Yerushalayim will go up. But yeah, the idea is, what does it mean to go up? What does it mean, the level? What does it mean? So it says, Kimavuar, the Kisva Harizal, it's right, it's explained. The Kisva Harizal, B'mailas Eretz Yisrael, the Achshov al Chutzlaretz. Explains there, what's the advantage? Why is Eretz Yisrael of a greater level now than the Chutz Laretz? And we see this expressed by the Halacha. The Gozru Tumala V'Yura V'Gusha V'Perikama the Shabbos to the Vavam Adalov. Over there, the Chachamim decreed Tuma just by entering into the ear of Eretz Yisrael. Also, the earth, the Gush, the material of Eretz Yisrael is Tamei. Tamei, the Avir Tamei, the Gush. The Gemara Perikama the Shabbos to the Vavam Adalov. Why is that? V'hu mipnei sheshom yored hashefa mimalchus da'atzilus al yidei ishtalsh al islavshus rabbis. In Chutz Laretz, the flow, the energy that we get from the level of malchus da'atzilus goes through many dressing up. Hainu, which is what? Malchus da'atzilus mislabeshes b'malchus the bri yitzira v'asiyah. Malchus da'atzilus dresses up in malchus of all the worlds of bri yitzira v'asiyah. Aval b'Eretz Yisrael, but in Yisrael nimshach hashpoah memalchus da'atzilus aidei slabshu b'malchus the bri yitzira levada. But in Eretz Yisrael, the flow of Atzilus, of Malchus Atzilus, comes only through Malchus Debri Yitzira. Mibli sheyitzarich lislabish gamkim Malchus Dasiya, without dressing up Malchus Dasiya. So what does it mean? So how does the flow take from Atzilus come to Asiya if it's only Yitzira, but Eretz Yisrael is in Asiya? So how could you say that it goes through Yitzira and not through Asiya? Although we have to, it needs to, even in Eretz Yisrael, it has to come through the officer, the Sar of Asiya who dominates Eretz Yisrael, because it's coming down in Eretz Yisrael. So what does it mean? It doesn't go through Asiya, it goes through Atzilus. That's only it passes through. It goes through the Sar of Asiya, but it doesn't actually dress up in Asiya. What's an example? When you look at the sun by means of a clear glass, so you're looking at it through a cover because you're using a glass, but since it's clear, so the light and the ray of the sun hasn't really changed because of that glass. You see through. So the hashpa, the Sar HaAsiya influence on the shefa of Malchus Datzilus is like that clear glass. That's why in Eretz Yisrael, when we relate, where do you get the shefa from in Eretz Yisrael? We say it gets from Yitzira, because it doesn't really dress up in Asiya. That's when we talk about Eretz Yisrael, when we say that it doesn't really dress up in Asiya, as opposed to Chutz La'aretz. Over there it comes in a way of Hislapshus. Hashenkin, Hislapshus, what does it mean, Hislapshus? Not Maivir, not just passing by, but it dresses up. It means that the flow of Malchus Datzilus dresses up in Malchus of Asiya. And most of our parochas, that's by example of a curtain, a cover. Shemailim al ha'oir b'yoser, that blocks very much the light. And this will be Kimoi, and also like the example, Achida v'amoshel, when you give a riddle, you give an example. Shemailim al ha'oir ha'sechel, they block the oil of the sechel. To the extent, to the extent they blind it so much that when you look about the light of the sun that appears through the curtain, nikra oir shel tulda, then we call it a light of a child, a light of a birth, a secondary light, because it's a different light. It came through a curtain, something that blocked it. Lefikoch, and therefore, Kshamalchus, the Atzilus, Hamelubeshes, B'malchus, the Bria, V'yitzira, Mislabeshes, Mamesh, B'malchus, the Asiya. When the Malchus, the Atzilus, dresses up in Malchus, and then it Mamesh comes down in Malchus, the Atzilus, Yisyachis, Hashefa, al Shem, Chinas, Malchus, the Asiya. That's why we call it, it's Asiya. That means, because it dressed up in Asiya, it became Asiya. It transferred through the Malchus of Asiya. It became a part of that, and therefore it'll be Tumah. V'lechein gozu shom Tumah. V'ayim Beitz Chaim shartikol nukla perik beiso yisheim asher kosu b'yin derech Mamer kasher yisakel chulu ayin shom. V'lechein gozu shom Tumah, and that's why there's Tumah there. Why? Because now it's connected to Malchus the Asiya. Why? And therefore, Asiya utachlis, Asiya utachlis hahester. Because when it goes through Asiya, over there it's totally blocking Ha'elakus, God, the godliness. Shahar Klippis, because the Klippis, the Shirish HaYetzer Hara, which is the root of the Yetzer Hara, Malimim Mastirim, they are blocking and they're obscuring over there. What goes on, the godliness that comes over there, they're blocking. Shame, Keil Adnai, the name of Hashem, Keil Adnai, that is Hamachaya Asiya, that vitalizes Asiya. Obegematria Tzav, it's Gematria 96, the numerical value. Adnai, Nun and the Yud from Adnai is 60, with the 5 is 65. Adnai is 65. Kael is 31. 31 and 65 is 96. That's the Lashon Tzav. It brings from the Zohar, the Ein Tzav El Avedus Kechavim. The Tzav is Avedus Kechavim. So that means, it's quite a stretch, right? We're saying that Keil Adnai becomes like Tzav, and Tzav is like Avodah Zarah. What are we really talking about there? It's going to explain, because once it comes down into Asiya, into Teva, where there could be a possibility of a people being a Yesh, or the world being a Yesh in Asiya, and that's like Avodah Zarah, because you're separating from Hashem. How is this? How is this possible? Elder means to say, yeah, you dress up in the garments of nature. To the extent that a person can say, my power, my strength made me this fortune. The person thinks that he looks at nature. He looks and he says, I did it for myself. He becomes a yesh. That's a level of Avodah Zarah. Yesh v'davar nifrat. It's a yesh v'davar nifrat. That's Avodah Zarah. So b'kivon shashpo nimshach al dei b'chinas levush zeh, and since the flow of Malchus Atzilus comes through this garment, a king goes to Lavira. That's why they said Lavira is tummy. But in Eretz Yisrael, where the flow goes only through Asiya, over there, therefore, there is no tumah, not on the air and not on the earth of Eretz Yisrael, because in Yitzira, which is what comes through in Eretz Yisrael, the light and the energy is not so hidden, and therefore it is not tamei. It's not there's not a unika, and we don't have all these distractions that we have in Ayolam Hasiya, in the regular chutzlaritz. In the future, when the world will be refined, and there is not going to be any obscurity in the world at all, so then Asiya is no longer going to block. That's what it says. Hashem will remove the spirit of impurity from the land. No more clippers. So then even the land of those who worship the stars and the constellation will also be refined. There it says, then I will turn around to the nation. They'll have a clear tongue, clear language. They're all called in the name of Hashem. And working with one shoulder, everybody together. V'oz yikablu ha'oir v'achayis miyitzira derech Mamer Asiya levad. Then it'll only be passing through Asiya, the chutz la'aretz. V'lo derech islamish, not in the way of Asiya. V'zo Asiya Eretz Yisrael shetispashe b'chol ha'olam kuloi. And this is what means Eretz Yisrael is going to expand in the whole world, that the whole world will be receiving the chayis just like Eretz Yisrael now, without dressing up in Asiya, only Derech Maver Asiya. That's going to be the hashpah in the whole world. The Eretz Yisrael, so what's going to happen, parentheses, where's Eretz Yisrael? The Kabim and Mokum Elyon Yisrael. That's going to receive from even a higher place. V'ayin b'zeh b'sefer al-Gilgulim Perik Tazayin. Over there it says, She'eretz Yisrael, I'll explain now a little bit where Eretz Yisrael gets and where does it get now? I mean, we know Eretz Yisrael, we said, gets through Yitzira, but specifically, where does it get now and what's going to happen to it when La'asir Lavi is going to get from a higher place? So in the Sefer HaGilgulim, in chapter 16, over there it says that Eretz Yisrael heim vav sfiras tachtoinas the Yitzira. Those are the 6 lower sfiras. So that would be from the 10 sfiras, that would be the 6 lower sfiras. And the chutz la'aretz gets from the vav sfiras tachtoinas the Asiya. So we're all talking about the 6 lower levels of the spheres. But when the creation, at the time of creation, over there, the spheres of Atzilus are not the same that they were now. So getting from the spheres then meant that you got from a higher level, because now we're getting from the same 6 spheres in Atzilus and in Yisrael, in Chutz La'aretz, but we're getting from the spheres as they are in a lower level. Oh yes, good. What happened is they hate Adam Harishan. Through the sin of the Eitzadas, they were lowered and they descended lower below from where they were in the beginning. To the extent, what is now the 6th first levels of Bria, which means we talked about the 6th lower of Yitzira and Asiya. Now we're talking about in Bria, the first 6 first levels of Bria. Hoyu Oz Vavacharin is the Yitzira. Yitzira was so much higher that those 6 last level were what is now the 6 first level of Bria. Basically, Eretz Yisrael then, even though it was really as now, Eretz Yisrael is the 6 lower levels of Yitzira, but essentially the level of before Eitz Hadas, those 6 levels are equal today to the 6 levels, upper levels of Bria. Umashahu Ato Vav Rishona is the Yitzira. The same thing is those 6 first level of Yitzira. Zahoyo Vav Acharon is Asiya. So the 6th last level of Asiya was equal to the 6th first level of Yitzira. So that means that Chutz La'aretz that gets from Asiya got equal then even though it took from the 6 lower levels of Asiyah, but 6 lower levels of Atzilus were equal to the level of the first 6 level of Yitzira. V'zehu madreges chutz loretz koydem ached de'etz hadas ein shom barichus. That's what it says. This is all from the Sefer HaGilgulim. V'nizker gam ke b'Likutei Torah Masei Parshas Bereshis. Ufizeh. So based on these specific spheres that we learn now, Inyan Asida Yisrael Shetispashet Chulu. So what does it mean as Shetispashet? Basically, he wants to say that it's going to get back to the level the way it was by Adam HaRishon. By Mashiach in the future, it says, "V'nisa v'gova me'oid." He will be very high, even Adam HaRishon. But B'chlal, we say that Mashiach and Adam have a connection. Adam lifnei hachet. So basically, in the future, it will go back the way it was by Adam HaRishon. Now we know how it was by Adam HaRishon from the Sefer Gilgulim. Lefi shebchinas Mashiach zehu madreges Adam HaRishon shehoya k'moi chayde itzada k'moi shehoya. Because Mashiach is the same level as Adam HaRishon as he was before the Sin of Eitzadas. As it writes the Perikutes, V'im Kain. So in that case, Oz Shisha Sfiras Achronis the Asiyah. So then, when Mashiach comes, the 6th last Sfiras of Asiyah, which is Shemahem Nimshach Hashpah B'chul Zoros. From the Chutz Zoros, there will come the Hashpah. Haris Alu Liz Madreges Sfiras Shoinus Shisha Sfiras Shoinus Yitzira Dachshav Chulu. They're going to be on the 6 Sfiras of Yitzira now. So Al Derech Zeh, now we know about Eretz Yisrael. Al Derech Zeh Shisha Sfiras Achroinus the Yitzira, because they'll be like it was Chedem Echet Etzadas. It's Arluliyos Kime Madreges Shisha Sfiras de Bria. They're going to be like the 6 Sfiras of Bria. V'zo b'chinas Eretz Yisrael lost. And that's the level of Yisrael lost. Trying to explain. So when we say that Eretz Yisrael is going to expand, that means it's still going to get from the Shisha Achroinus of Yitzira. Eretz Yisrael, that's a constant. But the Shisha Achroinus of the Yitzira will be like the Shisha Rishonos of Bria, because it will be like Adam HaRishon before the Chet. That's where it's going to come back. Or maybe the Rebbe says, we can explain that what does it mean that Israel is going to expand the whole world? Shebchinas vov sfiras tachtonos the Yitzira k'moi sheyia oz. In other words, that the 6 lower spheres of tachtonos, as they're going to be then, that I level. Yispashtu lahoir b'chutz la'aretz. He says that actually that's going to be even on a higher level. That the 6 lower levels of Yitzira, basically, like this, we kept it a constant. In the previous scenario, the previous interpretation, Eretz Yisrael will always be makabel from the Vav Achroinus of Yitzira, and Eretz Yisrael will be makabel from the Vav Achroinus of Malchus. However, these Vav Achroinus are going to be on a higher level, because the Vav Achroinus of Yitzira will be like the Vav Rishonos of Bria. The Vav Achroinus will be like the 4 Vav Rishonos of Yitzira. So that will make it a higher level. But the other pshat, he wants to say no, that actually Chutz La'aretz is going to get from the higher, from the level where Eretz Yisrael gets now, which is from the Vav Achroinus of Yitzira, and then Eretz Yisrael will go even higher. Shebchinas Vav Yitzira's K'mei Sheyeh Oz Yispashtu l'har b'chutz la'aretz. So they're going to get from, just like Eretz Yisrael gets now from the Vav, but even in there we're going to chutz la'aretz. Eretz Yisrael to come in Mal Yisrael, Yisrael will get even higher. Exactly how it's going to be. Ba'im gulim shom seif parish perik zayin, and there is gulim perik al kol ponim yesh oid aliyas, that there is still other aliyas. Ad shebchinas vov achronis da asiya, until the level that the six of last of asiya, which is feeding chutz la'aretz now, they will actually equal not just the 4, the 6 of Yitzir, but they will come up to the level of Atzilus. Yitzir will be even higher. There's sometimes Shabri Yucholalas Adikno Darich Ampin Atzilus Chula, up till the beer of Arich Ampin of Atzilus. Which causes the Mokamach beer Aposik Shabseshet Ishmael. All right. So these are all explaining to a little bit what is going to be the aliyahs. Okay, but what is the point over here? The point is over here, right now we're in Asiya. And right now in Asiya there is a Yunika. You have the clip. So right now we have to sort of subdue it. And that's why there was the journeys on the Midbar. Which is the source of the Chitzonim. The Midbar is the place where the Chitzonim nurture, like because of the obscurity of the Shafa of Atzilus through the Sar and through the Asiya, Malchus Asiya. Sholochein, for that reason, Soira Mishtaleach, where was it, the goat that has been sent away with all the sins? And Yom Kippur Nishlach Lazozel Hamidbara. It was sent to the Azazel in the desert. Because in the Azazel, in the Midbar, that's where the nurturing of the Chitzonim. So why would we travel? Through the Masos, they subdue them. In order that it should be able to be in the future the revelation from the level of Yitzira, like now it's in Eretz Yisrael, should be in the whole world. So that the klippas of Asiya should not block and obscure. So we're journeying in the desert to subdue the klippas. So when the Oren traveled, that was the journeys. So Moshe said, Kuma Hashem v'yafutzu v'chachulu. Stand up, Hashem. What does it mean, stand up, Hashem? Which means that we're going to get rid of the klippas, and that's going to bring Hashem in the level of Kuma Hashem, that the Yud Kei Vav Kei will stand up. Pirush Kuma Hashem. What does it mean, Kuma Hashem? Basically, there is the level of Hashem, the way it gives from a sidus, that you cut away from the Kedusha and you feed the klippas. Kuma Hashem means get up. Get up means don't feed anymore. They shouldn't have any more hamshacha. Pirush Kuma Hashem o'inyan. Ki'ine yiniches achitzonim hu mesidus de nukva. The nurturing of the outers comes from the hair of nukva. Nukva meaning malchus, eventually from the level of malchus. Rachel is also the Shviras HaMalchus. She was one of the mothers, the main Yaakov's wife, so she was considered the Rachel. And Lifnei Goyzezel Melama, they shear it. They shear it means they take the sidus, they take a Yanika, and it's silent. That means that Malchus, while it's feeding the klippas, allows it to happen that there should be a Yanik for Malchus. Kuma Hashem means we want to bring it back. No, it shouldn't be Kihine. Kihine. B'chinas hadibur ha'elyon nikra gam kein b'chinas odom. The level of dibur ha'elyon, which is the level of Malchus, because when we say, Hashem said, Asora Mamores, the Hashpoas Oilmus comes everything from Dibur, that is from the level of Malchus. It's called also, we refer to it as Odom. Because, why is it Odom? Why do we refer to it as Odom? Because speech, a person who has speech, that's Mamores saying is speech, it's Malchus. Odom hu medber. A person is speech. What's the quality? We call him a medber. It says a person was to a living spirit. It says leruach memalo, speaking, a spirit that speaks. Basically, an Adam is defined because he can speak. So on this it says, Nasa Odom. So that, what is he trying to say with the word Odom? So when the Pasuk says, let's make Odom, which means let's make Malchus, let's make the level of Dibur, B'tzalmenu Kidmusenu, which should bring in the tzelem and in the image of Hashem, which means that inside the Dibur, into Malchus, in the Dibur, you get the Tzalmenu is the level of Yichudei Ilah, and Kidmusein level of Yichudei. We discussed that in the previous Mamer as well. So that is Odom, that is Malchus, that is the Hashpoah. We have Bittul Hayesh and Bittul B'Metzias, Yichudei Ilah, Yichudei. Because Kshad Dibur Begilu. This is all when Dibur is open. What do you mean Dibur Begilu? Which means when Malchus shines through the Malchus, and it comes through. Those are in the holy worlds of the Neshamas Malachim who receive the Chayes from the Bar Hashem. And they're subjugated in the way of Yichudullah and Yichudullah. However, as opposed to when the Dibur extends to vitalize Asiyah, Sheshoma Klippus Hamastirim, over there, their Klippus block. Then the Dibur is in a way of Golus. Doesn't function, it's not open. Malchus does not come out. The Amshachas doesn't come out. Venikra Ne'alama. Nefnega Ne'alama, never silence. Which means, it's silent because people can come mistakenly say, it's my power to strengthen my hand. Venikra Goizezeha. And that level is called, they cut it away. They separate, they cut away the hair from the Kedusha, from the Rachel, from the sheep, from Malchus, and they separate it. Malchus Nikla Rachel, the level of Malchus is called Rachel, Shemaneches as Atzmo Ligzos Vinvet. It allows itself to be sheared and it doesn't kick. Because that's the case that the Chayis extend also to all the outers. Rak Shumebchinas Achurayim. It's in the way, like from the back, it's from the here. Not in the way of desire and cheshek. The example is like the here. The ears they mainly grow on the back of the head. Upon him, the face, his ponim side doesn't have any ears, which means when you say you get it through the ears, means you're getting it through the back. So the clip is getting through the here, they're getting to the back. בדברי המסחיל עשי בעינוich. והנה, בנסוע האורן, when the Aaron journeyed, so what happened? They chniu klippos, and they subdued the klippos. Shelo yiyu mastirim. They shouldn't block. Harezeh aliyas hamalchus ma'golus v'ashivyon. So that means that the malchus goes up from its exile, its captivity, because the hairs were pulled down into Yunikas HaChitzoni. So he says, when Malchus gets back to its state. So that also helps and brings Zoh up to a higher level. And also all the partsufim, all the images that are above Zoh, which is Chochma Bina, everything goes up a higher. Basically, the whole Ishtalshalus is connected. It becomes Kuma Hashem. Everything, starting from Malchus, everything goes up. Zeu Kuma Hashem. Sheyesh Aliyah B'kima L'chlol Shem Havaya. That the whole Shem Havaya gets up. Batamhu. What's the reason? Basically, the whole evolution, the way the world is, everything dresses up. So Malchus dresses up Zoh, and Zoh dresses up Chochma Bina. So basically, when you raise the Malchus, Zoh gets raised. And when you raise Zoh, everything gets raised. It's all connected. We know the lower one dresses up the upper one. Nukva de Zoh malbeshes leZoh. Nukva of Zoh dresses up Zoh. V'Zoh dresses up La'avo to Aveim to Chochma Bina. V'Avo l'Chesed Gvura D'Arechampin that dresses up Chesed Gvura D'Arechampin. So the whole is Ishtalshalus. So that's why the whole Havaya kum Havaya. V'al derech moshul shadibur malbish lamidas. The speech dresses up the midos, which means what you have in the midos comes, you talk about it. But midos malbishus hasechel, they dress the sechel. Memela, shamalchus eile miridoso, and therefore, when the malchus goes up from its descent, its imtsuma and its contraction, harayesh aliyah lekol ishtalshalus shelamayli mena. That's why the whole ishtalshalus has an aliyah. That is Kuma Havaya. We're saying now Kuma Havaya because this is all of the Ishtalshalus that is getting that lift up. That's what is Kuma Havaya. Kiklolus kol Atzilus Nikra Havaya. Because all of Atzilus is called Yud Kei Vav Kei. Hayud b'Chochma, Yud is Chochma, and the K is in Bina, Vav is Zoh, and the Kei Achron is Malchus. Shayidei Yitzis HaMalchus. Malchus Mamer Vagvul, the Asiya, when Malchus goes out from the limitation, the bounds of Asiya, Yashaliyah L'Klolu Shem Havaya Chulu, then there is a leave of the general Shem Havaya. That's one interpretation. We also have the interpretation of Kuma Hashem, all of Ishtalshalus, which means Atzilus B'ri Yitzira Asiya. Become derech klal, Hayud B'chinas Atzilus. In a more general way, Yud, this is within Atzilus itself. But in a more general way, Yud is Atzilus, and K is Bria, Vav is Yitzira, At K Achreina, Umulush Basiya. That's in Asiya. Kuma Hashem, what is Mikuma Hashem? Yichud v'chibur. Kuma Hashem, let's get Hashem together. Let's combine Hashem, that it should stick. The four letters of Yud K Vav K. Daled Ois Yisavaya, V'gam Aliyas Ha'olamos Al Derech HaNizkar Le'il, and also as the world elevates. So that is connecting, because all of the worlds are being elevated. This took place when all the 600,000 Yidden journeyed. They are also, like we said before, they are Odom, spoke before about Malchus, but people, the Jewish people, the Shomas Yisrael, they are in the image of Hashem. And when they journeyed in these 42 journeys, and you have all your 7 character traits should be to Hashem, and so that the neshama in the body should not be it shouldn't be so silent, like we said before. So in order to accomplish that, that's through the Nisiya. We don't want that the neshama should be separated and giving the body, and the body should get the Oira neshama, so you want it to be together. Okay, let's leave it over here, even though there's a little bit left to the end, but been coming late.